1 second. When we think of our favorite filmmakers, there's some usual go-to names. Nolan, Spielberg, Scorsese, and all of them are experts at entertaining audiences through conventional filmmaking methods, narrative, adventure, and character respectively. But there's another more niche name that pops up with mostly pretentious film people, David Lynch. To me, Lynch is in a category of his own. Whenever someone rolls their eyes at a filmmaker claiming that their work is art, David Lynch is my only response. Where Nolan creates an intricate, interconnected plot, Lynch creates a convoluted one-man story. Where Spielberg's adventure has our heart racing, Lynch's inaction unsettles us. Where Scorsese builds deep yet understandable characters, Lynch provides confusing, surface-level character complexity.
I love Mary.
Henry, I asked you if you and Mary had sexual intercourse.
Well, I don't think that's any of your business.
Henry!
I'm sorry.
You're in very bad trouble if you won't cooperate.
His work is completely devoid of meaning, yet invites you to figure out what's going on. As enticing as that sounds, I have never recommended any of his work to anyone. I invite you to watch his new 15-minute Netflix short, What Did Jack Do?, so you can better understand this video, but please do not take that as a recommendation. Not so fast. Before we get into the short, we need to first know the underlying philosophy of his piece, Absurdism. Absurdism is the belief that human beings exist in a purposeless, chaotic universe. Think about that for a second. That belief is completely contrary to creating a story in almost any medium. I challenge you to find a book, movie, or TV show that doesn't have an underlying theme or message. And then I challenge you to put it in the comments so I can check it out and prove you wrong. Just because What Did Jack Do is inherently meaningless, that shouldn't stop us from assigning our own arbitrary meanings to it. We human beings are creatures of meaning, and that meaning helps us get through life without crippling depression. That's what art is.
True love's flame burns so bright.
So here's the storyline. A detective, played by David Lynch, questions a monkey about a murder. So the first thing I think we all noticed immediately was that Jack, the monkey, talks. In media, talking animals in on itself is nothing new. I can probably point out dozens of movies and TV shows in which animals talk. It's a trope that has existed for so long that our brains have been conditioned to think that a talking animal represents a child-friendly fantasy world. Many times studios will hire a recognizable, friendly voice to play the animal.
The witch!
If the witch knew the true meaning of sacrifice, she might have interpreted the deep magic differently.
Sorry, I know. Where are my manners? I am Spike. Full name, Down Spike! Down! Get off that couch!
That's a song about the good life.
What's a song?
You never heard a song before? Everyone's got a song.
Jack's voice, however, is very different. It's shrill and high-pitched. Overall, it seems exactly like what a monkey's voice would sound like if they could speak in reality. Also, the subject matter is wholly serious. Being accused of murder is no childish idea. This puts our brain in a state of cognitive dissonance. We explained cognitive dissonance in filmmaking a few weeks ago. You can check that out here if you missed it. We learn more and more about the world through Jack's dialogue. We know, for example, that animals are anthropomorphic. They speak, behave, and are generally civilized like human beings. Jack fell in love with a chicken named Tutataban, and Tutataban's husband was murdered. This cute monkey with his shrill voice has been accused of murdering a rooster in a crime of passion. I used this information to extrapolate my own meaning from the film, but before we get into that, we need to talk more about the prevailing absurdism throughout the piece. It's interesting, for example, that Lynch decided to write a part for a detective in this piece. A detective's job largely is trying to extrapolate the culprit and the motive behind a crime. So the detective in What Did Jack Do represents us, or genuinely anyone that goes into this short trying to decipher its meaning. Throughout the piece, we see multiple times that the detective is in over his head. The monkey mocks him several times, and the detective throws just about anything he can at Jack, hoping that it sticks. He even goes so far as to, without evidence, accuse Jack of being a card-carrying member of the Communist Party. What's interesting is that as the story ends, we're given no real closure as to if Jack is actually guilty. After singing a bizarre yet somehow romantic number,
Once upon a time we danced. Once upon a time we took a chance and fell in love.
Jack sees Tutankhamun and goes ballistic. His primal urges arise, and he chases her out of the room. The detective takes that to mean that Jack was guilty and runs out of the room to arrest him. After watching this, I found myself subconsciously sympathizing with the detective. I'm almost certain that's what Lynch wanted us to do. We perceive the detective to be the protagonist because he's on the right side of the law and he's a human, so it's easier for us to put ourselves in his shoes. We take solace in knowing that the narrative is completed and that another bad guy has been taken off the streets. We hope that he can return a sense of normalcy in our brain. But after watching again, I found the ending to be tragic. The case against Jack is ambiguous at best. There's no smoking gun evidence against Jack, but my brain's innate processes and personal biases led me to be satisfied with the conclusion the first time. In essence, Lynch is showing us the folly and the human urge to assign meaning to random events. And so now, I'm going to try to assign my own meaning to this random piece of art.
Coincidence? I think not!
I love animals, and sometimes I love animals so much that I get a bit fanatical about it. I think in the very, very far future, if humanity prevails, then wildlife should and will have all the same rights as humans. Future humans might condemn the horrors and ignorance of anthropocentrism as we do human rights violations today. In other words, the thought that humans are above animals on this planet will be an idea of the past. To me, Lynch is painting the other side of the picture, because naturally it would have to be a two-way street. If it's illegal for a human to kill an animal, then it would have to be illegal for an animal to kill another animal. That idea may have been better in my head. Anyway, let me know what you guys took away from this weird short in the comment section. Remember, all of your ideas are just as validly incorrect as mine. See you next week, and stay creative.
Philadelphia was my greatest influence.